I just got off the phone with a White House official, and they need to clarify that the new effective tariff rate against China, effective today, is actually 145%, not 125% as they told us yesterday. This is not a new shift. This is based, I want to make clear, on a close reading of the executive order. I have it here. When they amended their executive order yesterday, they changed the rate, the reciprocal rate, so-called, from 84% to 125%. But that comes on top of the fentanyl rate that was already in place this term of 20% against China. So a White House official confirmed to me it is correct to add those numbers together, making the new rate that President Trump has added in tariffs against China so far this term to 145%. A big jump there from where we thought we were even yesterday and the start of the week as well. These numbers just keep increasing. And as you guys know, you do have to add that 145% to any tariffs that were already in place before President Trump took office this term. That's the Section 301 tariffs from his first term, as well as anything else that was already in place at baseline. But now the new rate, when you add all these figures together, for this term that they've added against China is 145% on Chinese imports. Guys?
Megan, a very important clarification. Thank you for that. It does make you wonder, yeah, because I think the broad assumption was 125% included, perhaps, yes, the 20% already from fentanyl. I asked this question earlier of Amy, but I'd love to ask it of you as well. In terms of exemptions, we were talking to an analyst earlier, of course, about Apple, where it may really be so important for a company like that to get an exemption, given how many iPhones are made in China. Do we have any expectations and/or do you have any reporting around what may or may not happen when it comes to that?
The best that we know is that the president said yesterday he was willing to consider some exemptions for some companies, but he didn't want to give any specifics on what it would require. So we don't know anything further than that. We know that Tim Cook has been in touch with this White House, in touch with this president. He's been down to Mar-a-Lago, been trying to win some of those exemptions here, as have other companies. But we just don't know yet. What I will say, despite just how high this China tariff is, now even higher than we initially thought, there is some more optimism now because companies like Apple that have production in other countries as well, they can at least move around. But I will say that, there was softer language from the president yesterday that at least he's considering exemptions. We didn't get that before. And if past his prologue in the first term, we did get some. So I would expect a lot more to come on that front.
I mean, a few things. The rate is so gargantuan compared to, first of all, the other tariff rates that we have and everything else. It makes me think that they're bringing them to the table to a deal, because at some point it's just unsustainable to have trade this way. And then their tariff rates now on our exports into China are what? Above 80%?
84, right?
They're at 84%, yep. And they're doing all these other things. The TikTok deal, for example, is on ice. The president acknowledged that yesterday. The companies that have all been added to the blacklist, the entities list. I saw a headline this morning that China's buying some soybeans from Brazil. That's a hit to U.S. farmers. So China can do a lot more. I agree with you that I think with rates this high, you would think there have to be negotiations, and potentially we'll see those in the coming days. But I've been kind of amazed over the past few days just how little conversation has been going on between the U.S. and China. It doesn't seem like there's any sort of dialogue at this point. We've seen the tit for tat escalating without the leaders, at least, getting on a phone call.
Well, nobody wants to be seen as coming first, right? It's seen as weak. Who picks up the phone first? It's like we're dealing with two power players that are hard to analyze. She and Trump. Thank you, Megan.
And obviously going to have significant damage you would expect to the Chinese economy, certainly over any period of time. But
and looking at
basically as a complete stoppage.
There are other interim moves beyond coming to the table and negotiating. Right? Yesterday, China allowing its currency to weaken that much more.
Yes, which I guess they can only do so much. Eventually, it could hurt their property sector, where they also have
capital flows, confidence issues. We saw that in 2015, so they have to be careful with that as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say they have a higher pain tolerance than we do, and a longer term horizon.
I think those are probably both true statements.
Yes.
All right, we got a quick programming note for you. Don't miss it. Tomorrow morning, big interview. BlackRock's chairman and CEO Larry Fink is going to join us right here at Post 9. That, of course, will be following BlackRock's quarterly results. As for our live market coverage of what are fairly significant losses, of course, after yesterday's enormous rally. You can see them right there with the S&P down 3%. We're going to keep a close eye on that when we come back.